Welcome to the Actor at the Centre YouTube channel. Actor at the Centre was founded when the Actors Centre, the building in Covent Garden, given to the acting profession by Sir Anthony Hopkins and Equity in the 1990s, was taken over and then cancelled by people who didn't care that they were destroying a vital community hub. Actor at the Centre has since campaigned for 4 years for a new Actors Centre and for the restoration of affordable continuous training in a building that can be an inspirational home from home for the acting profession. We are therefore absolutely delighted to be partnering from January 2026 with the Marylebone Theatre, which will host a pilot programme of affordable workshops and classes for existing and new members of the Actors Centre. If this trial programme is successful, there is a real possibility that the Marylebone Theatre could become the permanent home of the new Actors Centre. In the description box below, you'll see a link that will take you to the website where you can check out the wonderful workshops and classes on offer. They cover many aspects of the craft, from Meisner to movement, Stanislavski to Shakespeare, from Alan Ayckbourn to Harold Pinter. Make no mistake, we need your support, so we really hope to see you. And if you want to back this project but you can't attend the classes, please consider buying a membership for £15, or as it's Christmas Eve as I speak, maybe gifting a membership to someone as a present. Our campaign is as yet unfunded and entirely voluntary, so anything you contribute makes a difference in our quest to make quality actor training affordable and universally available. The video that follows is a conversation between Harry Burton, one of the directors of Actor at the Centre, and Alexander Gifford, artistic director of the Marylebone Theatre, where they discuss the common ground between the two visions that have come together for this lovely collaboration. Well, right now we're in the cafe that's
sitting
going
in the cafe of Rudolf Steiner House.
But this cafe is about to be reshaped, remodeled.
We're hoping very much that in the new year it's going to be redesigned to have a larger floor space, bookshop, cafe integrated into one.
Wow!
Be far more of a kind of community hub.
Wow!
Experience. We're hoping, yeah.
And tell me about the community that Steiner House itself is home to. What currently? Yes. I mean, since you've been here.
Yes.
Which is what now?
Well, maybe I'll just give you a little bit of history. The building's been here for 100 years. Mm-hmm. It was built in 1926, so it's literally coming up for the 100th anniversary next year, which is quite exciting.
Gosh.
And it was originally the theatre, which was then called, I think, the Steiner Hall, or the Steiner Hall. And it was built in the last, started to build in the last year of Rudolf Steiner's life. And he, by that stage, had, I think, millions of followers all around Europe. And here in London, they wanted to build a centre to kind of promote his work, which touched very much into theatre. And he devised a new movement form called eurythmy. So the theatre was created to showcase eurythmy and the plays that he had written. He'd written 4 plays that he called mystery dramas, which are very interesting pieces. We can come on to that maybe.
Did he write those early, mid or late life?
Mid to late, so 1910 to 1914. He stopped with the outbreak of World War I.
Right.
But he'd written these 4 plays, and they're extraordinary, and I've translated them and acted in them and directed them, and they're really worth us talking about later on, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, because I associate him with theosophy.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Absolutely. He was the leader of the German section of the Theosophical movement until the point when the leaders of the Theosophical Society, Annie Besant and Colonel Ledbetter, declared that Jiddu Krishnamurti was the reincarnation of Christ, which he knew to be untrue and was later confirmed by Krishnamurti himself to be untrue. So he split from the Theosophical Society. He set up his own movement called the Anthroposophical Society. We're sort of lumbered with these old-fashioned terms. And that was an attempt, Harry, to create a modern spiritual movement that understood and embraced Eastern wisdom, but was more strongly grounded in a kind of Western Christian spiritual tradition.
Right, and that Eastern tradition takes in the Hindu scriptures, the Vedanta, the Upanishads, and
100%. Steiner actually said anthroposophy is the reincarnation of Veda.
Wow.
And that's a quote that means a lot to me because I spent the early part of my 20s living in India in a Hindu ashram.
Wow.
With a Hindu guru.
Did you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
What was that like?
Brilliant, yeah. I mean, those were great years where I just sort of reset myself from my whole kind of, materialistic...
Because you're not a Steiner pupil.
No, I'm not. I didn't go to a Steiner school, and maybe that's something people don't understand. But he, as well as being a spiritual teacher, he wanted to bring his ideas into play in all kinds of practical fields. So schools, hospitals, farms. That's what marks him out as a spiritual teacher, is the practical applications. But I wasn't lucky enough to go to a Steiner school. I went to an all-boys boarding school, so kind of the opposite.
So what was your entry point into the world of Steiner?
Yeah, well, it was this building. It was this very building. It was actually, I got back from India, having been in the ashram, and just sort of decided, what am I going to do with my life? I'll go to drama school.
Viewer, take heed.
Yeah, take heed. Yeah, just because I'd been interested. I'd done acting and been reasonably good at it.
All right.
So I thought I'll just give myself a year to do that. So I was looking for a drama school audition piece, and I was in Waterstones, and I came across a play called Black Earth, inspired by the mystery dramas of Rudolf Steiner.
Wow.
That's very interesting. I must find out more about
Who
that.
was the author of Black Earth?
He was called Christopher Marcus, and funny enough, later on in life, I became friends with Christopher. He's a very good director. So that was the beginning. So then I began to research more. I began to find out more about Steiner's plays and his whole spiritual approach, and very quickly I realized this is what my soul's been looking for. And it bridges art and religion. I think that was really the important thing for me, that it's a way to move towards sacred theatre. And that's probably really where that's our starting point for everything we're doing in the transformed theatre in this building now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. And to me, very rich. I stumbled, I suppose, into the idea of sacred theatre, ritual theatre, theatre as sacred space. I stumbled into all that mostly through reading the books of a wonderful man who became a close friend called James Roose Evans.
Right.
He lived up the road, and he's founded the Hampstead Theatre.
Did he?
And if anyone's interested, there is a long interview with him on my YouTube channel, because he died at 93 or 4, and he lived several lives. He was an ordained minister, and he founded a creative centre in Wales called the Bledfar Centre. But more than anything, he was an actor. I mean, he played Hamlet at the age of 22 in a theatre where he was the artistic director. So he was precocious,
right?
And worked with people like Gielgud and so forth. So he came out of the absolute kind of Edwardian tradition of British Shakespearean theatre, but then fell madly in love with Martha Graham, with the whole kind of movement and expressive forms that the confines of conventional theatre couldn't handle. And he eventually wrote an amazing and wonderful book called Ritual Theatre,
right?
Which that's a lift. That's the lift.
And sounds like a very interesting guy. I'd like to know more about him.
Well, I commend the interview. Apart from anything else, otherwise I'd bring him here like a shot to meet you, because what you're doing here, it's fairly rarefied, and yet, to me, as an actor and then a director and then as a teacher and a coach, I've always stayed within the bounds of relatively conventional text-based theatre plays, but all the learning I've got from my adventures in the esoteric side, I've folded back into my approach, without kind of bringing it like a kind of big headline thing. Harry works through this method or whatever. I don't do that, because people go, well, I don't think I want to.
Sure.
But so much of it is wisdom for the journey, for the creative person. I mean, I have found to be.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting to know, Harry. I imagine you were too, very strongly influenced by Peter Brook.
Well, I read Peter Brook very early on, and I've continued to read him later on, and I certainly think he is a pioneer, more than just a great figure in the arts. He's a true adventurer.
Yeah.
I mean, that book about him driving across the Sahara with his Helen Mirren and his team of mummers, and it's an extraordinary story. But they took a play across Saharan Africa.
Amazing. The one that meant a lot to me was the Mahabharata, which I never saw.
No, I never saw.
But I saw it on film, and I think I must have watched it 10 times. And it just set a new standard for me in what, theatre could be in our times. Drawing on the sacred traditions, working with actors in a way that they're crafting their speech and their movement in a certain artistic way. And I have a feeling that there was something like a great British theatre tradition that you've referred to, figures like you've mentioned, and Olivier coming out of the war. And something was living in British theatre that's very precious. And I think Steiner speaks very much to that. He was giving lectures on theatre in the last years of his life, and he was really trying to flag up that naturalism and realism had sort of run its course. He had a whole theory of the evolution of theatre, that it had begun in what he called mystery centres, as literally sacred ritual initiations, and then come out onto the world stage with Aeschylus. And he says that's why Aeschylus was almost killed by the priests, because they could see clearly that he was taking theatre out of the sacred precincts. And then a whole journey of evolution, coming right through to our time, in which now we're meant to be somewhat recapturing some of the knowledge of the primal dramas, the reality of spiritual worlds, the reality of spiritual beings, gods, demons, the living influence of the dead, the ones who've passed over. So that's what we're trying to do here at the Marylebone Theatre. We're trying to create a theatre that lives and is infused with those sorts of qualities and content.
Fascinating. I mean, to me, the one word you and I haven't said, but that I would immediately want to kind of throw in there is the idea of mythic imagination.
Mythic imagination, lovely.
For actors.
Yeah.
And that's that's where I began in my early 30s by initially reading Joseph Campbell, probably. But I, discovered Jung's idea of the collective unconscious, and the whole idea that there is so much that is shared between humans in some layer that we can't physically identify, but which nevertheless is clear through Jung and Campbell's work as mythologists, that we all tell each other the same stories, irrespective of location, time, epoch, whatever. Human beings share an amazing concentration of material, which I suppose psychology might call archetypal, but the word universal is so much better. But how do you? My passion has been to try and connect young actors to the idea that naturalism, realism is woefully underpowered. To connect to this idea that we are connected at depth.
Yeah. That's brilliant. That's so good to hear. That's fantastic.
And of course, that brings in the idea of training, which is something that has happened here in the Steiner building. Sounds like it happened very naturally.
It's happened very, as you say, it's been very spontaneous, but always part of our kind of founding purpose when we started this project, because we're not just interested in doing things the way they're done. We don't want just to conform to a status quo of a theatre culture that's maybe over-dominated by commercial instincts. We're trying to bring a new impulse, a rejuvenating impulse into British theatre. And you can't do that except with a group of actors who are sharing that vision and that plan and a way of working with speech, particularly. And that's where Steiner is, I think, very special and unique. He gave a lecture series that's come to be called the Speech and Drama Course. And that became very, very influential initially on Michael Chekhov, who took it all around the world. He trained actors like Marilyn Monroe and Yul Brynner.
Anton's nephew, was he?
He's Anton's nephew, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then it's also landed in England with various teachers and trainers. And the most famous exponent of this is Mark Rylance, who trained with somebody called Barbara and Peter Bridgemont, who I also trained with. They had been in Joan Littlewood's ensemble, did the Steiner training, really embraced it. And really what it amounts to is, and if you really study Mark, you can see he's completely mastered it. It's a way of working with the breath in a way that just releases a greater force of breath, and then a living into the particular sounds of the language, where you're really understanding and working imaginatively with the fact that the sounds, as Steiner says, are actually gods. That the human language is a kind of manifestation on the physical plane of divine beings, and when we speak, we're intoning or we're giving life to those beings. So it really is to recapture the thought that language is sacred utterance, and and so much ensues from that you can feel, especially when Mark does it. And I'm so proud that he is our patron here in the building and has done some wonderful spoken word events for us. And we'll do a run of a show next year.
Wow.
Yeah. And we want to be offering that training to more actors in this country. I've never done it with any actor, shared this method, and they haven't just said, wow, that is amazing. And I didn't get enough of this at drama school, you know.
So I want to go back to something you said, that it develops a force of breath.
Yeah.
Which is, by which you mean, that translates into a theatrical power.
It translates into theatrical power, yes.
And what is that? So that is presumably rooted in both physical toning of muscles, repetitious exercise and so forth, but also I hope some kind of imaginative accompanying.
You've put it perfectly.
Right.
It's a sequence of repetitious exercises you do every day over a period just to train the organism. And then a kind of imaginative awareness that breath passes through you.
Right.
And is a kind of spiritual force that you're drawing on with your inhalation.
Right.
And
I mean, I know Mark was very influenced, as I was, and a bunch of us were, by a man called James Hillman.
Right.
And Hillman coined this. I think he coined this phrase, or maybe it was Joseph Campbell. But this idea that feelings and the momentum of life force as a felt thing are divine influxes, which is kind of sort of technical on the one hand. On the other hand, it kind of says it, doesn't it? It's
that's perfect.
It's coming from somewhere else. It possesses me momentarily, and then it passes.
Yeah.
But where did it come from? It's like the magic of good therapy. Something happened, but what was it? Can you?
That's great. Interestingly, Steiner says that the Greek gymnastics was actually a training for speech.
Oh.
And particularly this exercise of throwing a spear that they used to do is something that kind of prepares your whole organism, including activating the legs, bringing that into your speech, that endows a power. So one of the exercises we do a lot in Steiner training is just either actually throwing a spear or just this motion of kind of hurling yourself forward, and then that leads into a sense of going back for the breath and then bringing it through. So
that's great.
So the actor is kind of like a spear thrower in some way.
Well, there are little synchronicities happening now. Mark introduced James Hillman doing a lecture 30 years plus ago called the Spear Shaker Lecture, which is an annual event on St. George's Day. Right. And that year, James Hillman talked for an hour in the Middle Temple Hall about his passion for Shakespeare. But I've been devoted to Mark's work over the years, and fascinated to hear that he has been in your building working with some young actors. Yeah.
He did a week with Mike Alfreds and just two very lucky young actors who got to be in that room working on a scene from Chekhov's The Cherry Orchard. Every day for a week, crafting it, Mark very generously giving his time to that. I think he was also enjoying revisiting working with Mike, who was a director who directed him when he was a young actor, and he, I think, has retained a great love and respect for him. So that was a precious time. He also did a performance of Venus and Adonis in our theatre with Kristen Scott Thomas and Johnny Flynn. That was just like absolute magic, to take that long Elizabethan poem and make it utterly engaging.
With books in the hand?
With books in hand,
Sure.
Yeah.
So what other training presences have you already had in the building? Because we're going to go on and talk about what's happening with the new Actors Centre, but we feel that we're coming in on a comet's tail of something that's already happening.
You are, funnily enough, just quite organically and naturally, we've attracted to the building some really great teachers and trainers, including Patsy Rodenberg.
Right.
Who then subsequently, as you know, resigned from Guildhall and has now got her new job at the RSC. But she really is saying and feeling that this is her new base in London.
Wow.
So she's running regular week-long trainings here. And Patsy is someone I think we have just a very natural kind of marriage of minds with. This principle she's now calling her work, she's calling all her work saving the craft. She's got this sense there's a craft of acting that's in peril. It's not being taught properly in drama schools anymore. It's not being shared from older actors to younger actors through the repertory system. It's fizzling out. And so we're really delighted that she's wanting to make a stand for that here in the building, as we are. And that making a stand, I think, is also what you're about at the New Actors Centre. That's something we're sharing, that we're trying to say enough of this process of decline and eroding the actor's craft and the best traditions of British theatre. We want to make a stand for them and try and reactivate them.
It's very difficult to be accurate about what I mean, but someone like Patsy, who I've never met Patsy Rodenberg, but I've read some of her books, and I revere her. The way she talks about the voice and about the foundation of performance being rooted in a and she herself in one of her books talks about this extraordinary journey of personal development that she's had to go on because of some of the things that were blocking her as a younger person and so forth. Right. I identify with that personally.
Will do.
But it's not easy unless you hear from someone like Patsy who's taught in these drama schools. Drama schools where I've worked myself for many years, but only someone like Patsy can really see that there is a decline, and that there is a loss of what she's calling craft. We're talking about voice movement, the voice production, the way people are flexible with their physicality and their vocal range, the precision of their speech, diction, audibility, the absolute fundamentals of the tradition that I think you have been brought up in, although
I think I sort of missed it. And was nostalgic for it.
Right.
And I'm trying to catch up, frankly.
And I very much didn't miss it because I came through, I came through musical theatre, through Pinter, through Noel Coward, through Shakespeare, and an actor-singer where the voice and the one's ability to have a technical grounding which will get you through 8 shows a week and won't let you down. It can take a lot of stress, but it can't fail. I'm one of those actors who can say I never missed a show, but God knows I was hoarse through plenty. So I am grounded in that world, and I have been working with young people through the last 10 years or more, through COVID and out the other end, and I have seen, like Patsy, a real sense of loss. And then the student body, some of them realise that is happening to them, and they're rightly questioning, this is not what we signed up for. And some of them get distracted by other things. Loosely one could call them, I suppose, socio-political, but there's a distraction there, and I think what's happened to some extent is that drama schools have been pulled overly to one side of that, and if there was a necessary sacrifice in that process of trying to accommodate everybody, the craft side has been the one that suffered. So I say that as a kind of outside. I've never had a job in a drama school, but I've been around the people who've been trying to get the training, and I have seen plenty of them saying something's going wrong, something's awry. So what we're trying to do with the New Actors Centre, apart from replace the grievous loss of the building that the Actors Centre used to be in, and the whole idea of an Actors Centre, which was set up originally in the late 70s by Anthony Hopkins, and Equity, as you know, a building for actors, bought for actors by actors, and it was a place that the profession felt was a home from home. But the training that's always gone on there tried to be rooted, based in the traditions, with practitioners who really had a lot of experience to share, a lot of wisdom to share, at the same time as having a kind of edge where people could come and do more experimental things. I remember with Mark Wing-Davey doing a 3-day workshop where we tried to find an action that accompanied the specific moments of a Bartok violin sonata. I've never done anything like it before or since, and it was in some ways hilariously funny, and in other ways baffling. But bloody hell, I felt like something was developing.
Well, that's a lovely combination, isn't it? If you're saying you're rooted in the traditions, you're trying to recapture that craft and that past, but then you're forging the future. You're trying things out. I think that's a lovely balance. And I think what we're trying to do, isn't it, Harry, is we're trying to kind of reincarnate the Actors Centre. We're calling it the New Actors Centre, and we want it to have exactly those principles behind it. And there is a lovely meeting of minds here, isn't there, between you who've been carrying this tragedy, the closure of the Actors Centre. That's been something you've been campaigning against for some years. Us who've arrived probably around about the same time. We opened the Marylebone Theatre. And just to clarify for everybody, the Marylebone Theatre is the renamed, refurbished theatre at Rudolf Steiner House. And we only gave it that new name as a kind of branding strategy, really, to give it a presence in mainstream theatre. But inwardly, we're deeply working out of Rudolf Steiner's ideas. But we have given it this name, the Marylebone Theatre. And, last few years, we've been building our reputation, putting on some plays that we've self-produced that come very specifically out of this more esoteric spiritual impulse. For example, we did The Dream of a Ridiculous Man, which is a Dostoevsky short story, which Greg Hicks did a brilliant one-man version of, written by Lawrence Boswell. And that was an absolutely, the Daily Mail called it cosmic joyride. It was kind of absolutely mystical journey in the company of angels to other dimensions. And we also did a play called Dimitri, which was a version of an unfinished Schiller play. And what I'm trying to convey is this is quite distinct programming. I think unusual for London in terms of its sort of more spiritual dimension. So there we are, I'm wanting to build a training around that, and there you are, and now we've met, and it feels there's really a marriage of minds here, and it's very exciting what we're going to create together.
Well, we have a 9-week pilot program.
Yep.
You've got 3 lovely training rooms,
Yep.
Classrooms. They're more than classrooms, they're more than training rooms. This whole building has a wonderful organic feel to it. There are curves everywhere. There are unusual, quirky, soulful aspects to this building.
Good.
And there's a lovely bookshop as well. The cafe is expanding. The theatre is the theatre. It has everything that a centre for the profession would want as a place to go and visit, have a cup of tea with a colleague, find a room, do a play reading, do a class. We've got Meisner, we've got movement, we've got self-taping, we've got acting for camera, we've got improv, we've got a wonderful teacher called Alison Skilbeck who worked with Alan Ayckbourn a lot. She's come to do an Ayckbourn workshop. Brilliant. I'm going to do 3 classes on the Room and the Dumbwaiter by Harold Pinter. Alexander is going to give a class on...
Well, I'm calling it The Secret Life of Words. And that's really working out of Steiner's ideas that the sounds of language have these particular innate qualities. The vowels, consonants, very different. And an R and an O, very different. And if you can really live into that, then you can become a painter of language. Wow. And words can have very different flavors and qualities. And it's so that should be a playful, fun course.
I love that, a painter of language.
Yeah.
The New Actors Centre is essentially an art school. It's a school where you can come and develop your style as a painter of language, of words, of sound.
Yeah.
We opened to the public in mid-January. There are websites which will appear on the screen at the end of this video, but the classes begin and they're 9 weeks. The affordability is the crucial aspect of this because, I mean, just 40 years ago, I left Central up the road from here, and the state gave me $3,000 a year to train to do the thing that I was passionate about. And in a generation and a half, we're leaving these young people with colossal student debt. I can't get my head around it. So the New Actors Centre, as with the old, is about affordability. We do ask that you buy a membership, and that's 15 quid for the duration of this pilot scheme. But once you've got that membership, you're then going to find the classes are extremely affordable, and the quality of the training is not wham bam, thank you ma'am, next please, 5 minutes on camera and a couple of notes and then that's it. This is about development and about giving yourself a chance to really feel that your muscles are starting to flex again.
And we hope, Harry, don't we, as well, that the building will be a community hub for the acting community.
Well,
that people are going to come here and feel they can meet each other, they feel at home. So that's really the hope and expectation that that will be a part of the actor's life here.
I think that's one of the hardest things as a member of this profession, is to feel that there is a centre anywhere. You want it to be at the National Theatre, but it's somehow too big. Maybe you go to the Barbican and then you just get lost. It's terribly hard to know what the centre is, and yet the truth is that every actor is a sort of axis mundi, where if you gather a few people around you, you can make something happen. But the idea of a centre for the profession is a noble one, and it worked for 40 years. So we cross all our fingers and our bits that that this pilot scheme will translate into perhaps here at the Steiner, we pray, but it's not a done deal. We've got to make it work. So even if you can't come to do a class, you could consider becoming a member for 15 quid. Your membership will certainly underwrite the whole scheme and make it more possible. We have no funding. The directors of the new Actors Centre has currently no grants, no funding. We're volunteers. We've tried to do this really out of a sense of injustice because of what happened to the old Actors Centre, and we've found this partnership with Alexander.
And let's not forget, Harry, it's a countercultural movement. Actually, the whole drift of culture, as you say, is to not support the actor, not support the creative person, sink them in debt. And actually, we're saying we want to do the opposite, and we're doing it. We're taking a hit financially in order to be able to provide the rooms at the affordable rate.
Are you crazy? Well, this is some kind of revolution that's happening here.
We've got ideals. So, and we're trusting that the money will come. If we can make a success of this, then the money will come to support it, and will attract supporters, charitable supporters. So anyone who feels that they just want to support an initiative that's supporting culture and creative people in our times, that would be another reason to back this venture, I believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wonderful.